So I'm Ron Bianchini from Avere Systems. We're going to talk about now our most recent release. So what we announced this past week is that we're also going to support cloud or object store. So just a very brief history. Remember why Avere exists is to optimize NAS environments. So we've taken the old school traditional NAS of the one monolithic filer, and we've now broken it into two functions: an edge function, which does the transactions, the high transaction rate part of NAS, and a core filer, which does the capacity. What we're doing, what we just announced with this release, is we're now going to support an S3 interface on the back end of our box. So if you think about, this is what we supported with our 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 release. What the new release does, imagine all those core filers, all the legacy filers. Imagine that's within this dash box. We're now going to also support any S3-based data repository behind us. So you can imagine a private store, maybe a good example of that is CleverSafe, or you can imagine a public object store. A good example of that would be Amazon. So let's go through and show how we got here, or why we think we have a very compelling product in this space. So this is the part I've probably discussed in the first two parts of this very heavily. In our 1.0, so basically 3 years ago, we came out with our 1.0 product. That was the 50-to-1 offload. That was the ability to separate performance and capacity. Once our box went in, this will tell you very quickly who our customers are. Our customers are enterprise. They're not SMBs. They're not people with one or two filers. Once our box went in, the number one requested feedback from our customers was, hey, Avere, now that you're there, I just don't have one filer, I have multiple. And not only do I have multiple filers, I have multiple filers from multiple vendors because some I got through acquisitions, and help me hide this clutter. Well, so 3 years ago was 1.0. 2 years ago, we came up with 2.0. The big news at 2.0 was a global namespace, but the fact that it's heterogeneous. So remember, when I talk to clients, I talk NFS and CIFS. When I talk to the core filer, I only talk NFS. So basically, all I really need from you is an NFS mount point, and I can add you into that global namespace. This is why we're different than like a NetApp or an Isilon. You want to cluster more NetApp, you have to buy cluster mode product. You want to cluster more Isilon, you have to buy another Isilon blade, right? In our system, you can mix and match any you want. So that was 2.0, that came out 2 years ago. And then 3.0 is what we just discussed. 3.0, we came out, so our box goes in, 51 offload. Customer says, I have a lot of filers, help me hide that clutter. We delivered 2.0. Once 2.0 got delivered, the number one request was, now that I got all those filers nice and neat and hidden, help me manage them. And that's what really drove us this. It's the ability to mix and manage. What I love about our 3.0 release, we have our CRM tool, Salesforce tool. We have a pie chart that shows you all of the core filers we sit in front of. Because when an installation happens, we record the core filer and all that. So we have a pie chart that shows you all the core filers we sit in front of. In the 1.0 and even in the 2.0 timeframe, that pie chart looked exactly like market share. Big hunk of NetApp, another hunk of Isilon, and all the other third-party NAS providers. It was virtually identical to what we see reported as market share was. When we came out with 3.0, what we noticed is a slice of the pie has been moving more and more towards white box. And here's why. A customer has lots and lots of storage, decides he needs another 100 terabytes, he calls all the traditional vendors, he gets their price, and he compares it to what he could do to build on his own. And because it's so much dramatically cheaper, we see customers moving white box in a lot more than you'd expect. So the new pie chart, as of today, the 3.0 pie chart shows market share, except for this slice of the pie that's growing over time, only because of the cost savings that people can get. Now, I'm not saying that we're advocating everyone move everything to white box, but because of the move and mirror pieces, because of the ability to only apply the white box in certain repositories, but also to mirror it to multiple if you're worried about redundancy, we're seeing that grow.
Yeah, because 2 white boxes still cost less than 1 VNX.
That's right.
10 white boxes cost less than 1 VNX.
So the evolution is they go to the edge core model, and then they realize that allows them to buy white boxes.
Yes, exactly. So remember the use cases.
Have you been around long enough that you get system architects leaving one of your customers and going to a greenfield and going, just buy FXT and white boxes?
Yes, yes, without a doubt.
Because it's clear to me that this is definitely an experience thing. This is like, okay, I put Avere in and they did the performance, and then I got a white box and I put the stuff I didn't really care about it all that much on it, and then I realized it was good enough.
Right. So Howard, if you notice on the last slide, I talked about our use cases in order: performance, WAN, cost. That's actually the order that we sell them in. People put us in for performance. They got an incredible acute problem, or they put us in for WAN. Once we're in, it's the next storage, the next capacity purchase. Right. They realize, why do I need to go to, I don't need the big iron anymore.
So more accurately, that's not the order you sell them in, that's the order people buy them in.
Yes, sorry, it's the order people buy them in. That's exactly right. Okay, so while I'm talking about the core filer market share, really what we're trying to accomplish with this 3.0 piece, and this is really what differentiates us from traditional gateways, is we're not trying to make that pie chart look 100% object, but remember with 3.0, we're able to expand this pie chart to bring in more and more white box. What we'd like to do now is we'd like to bring in object store and allow our customers to now bring object store in as part of their infrastructure. So they can be on a combination of traditional tier 1 NAS, white box NAS, or object store, either private or public. So the 4.0 release, this is what we just announced. We're now, we basically are starting beta. So we're shipping beta boxes now for 4.0. We've been running object stores in-house. We've actually compiled our product against an Amazon cloud. Works very well. So remember, this is where we were before. Something I should confess is we actually have cloud customers today, but remember, today we only talk NFS to the back, so the ones we have are using EMC Atmos, but they're running the NFS to object gateway in the EMC Atmos cloud.
And you're hiding the fact that that's slow as pig.
And we're hiding the fact that it's slow, right. So really what we announced this time is our 4.0, it's support for S3. And in this very first release, it's Amazon. So, what I do?
Nothing that matters to us, but Rebecca's going to hit you.
Uh-oh, I don't want to know. So really, what we're doing at this point is we're supporting S3, and we're starting with Amazon. So we've certified this process now of certifying different backends is what we've been doing for the past 4 years. We've been certifying NFS backends one after the other, and then we tell our customers which are certified. So with this first release, it's going to be Amazon and S3, and then we're going to move on to CleverSafe, and also Atmos will be the first 3 that we certify. And then longer term, but I want to make it absolutely really clear that this is not this release. We're going to move to an OpenStack-based front end. And honestly, we're doing this in the order that our customers are coming to us and asking for it. Any questions about that? So
Ron, most customers go to cloud for real cost savings and elasticity and that sort of stuff. And putting in a Avere box might be considered a highly expensive move. I mean, I understand the performance advantages of that. Most of the other cloud gateways, are not necessarily as expensive as Avere, I would say.
Right.
So I mean, your competition in that space is going to be a much more lower cost solution, but with maybe not the performance advantages that you have.
That's right. So I think this is right. So if the story comes out that Avere is another gateway, that's the absolute wrong message. The point that we've done is we've now given enterprise customers the ability to consider cloud for capacity. We are not a gateway. And actually, that was the point of this slide. So again, it's a good setup. The point of this slide is it's not that we're a gateway. It's that we bring gateway functionality to everything we've already done in enterprise NAS. So we give you that 50 to 1 offload. Users won't know. You'll be able to run an app against an edge filer with the local NFS or an edge filer against the cloud. The users won't see a performance different. That's what 1.0 brought. 2.0 brought global namespace. Now you can bring in tier 1 traditional filers, and you can bring in cloud, and you can decide where in that global namespace you're going to put them. Imagine you're supporting traditional data center and cloud all at the same time. This one, probably 3.0, the flash move. This was the punchline I talked about earlier. That migration services, that's maybe one of the biggest things that's going to drive revenue at this point. Because not only can you run against the cloud, but you can migrate in and out of the cloud at any time. So I think the quote we've been getting from customers is, Avere is the ultimate cloud on-ramp. Because you don't have to stop, ship disks to Amazon, bring it up and start. You just slowly migrate in, and eventually everything's in the cloud. So that's kind of the point I was going to try to make here is, yes, for the past 9 months, my engineers have been building a gateway. That's not the point. The point is how we integrate that gateway into what we've delivered. And so we're very much targeting enterprise.
And you manage the eventual consistency constraints and stuff like that and make it really consistent?
Yes. Honestly, that was the hardest part. That was absolutely the hardest part. So you went right to the crux of the matter. Our nodes, so I'm really airing dirty laundry. This is where Rebecca's going to kill me. Our nodes have to manage that eventual consistency. And as long as the nodes are all up and awake all the time, that's actually easy to do. The hardest part was making sure that HA operated correctly with that eventual consistency model. Because when a node goes down, you don't know exactly what he committed to the cloud, and so you potentially have to recommit to make it happen. Yeah. So that was the hardest part. It works, but you nailed it. It's eventual consistency, but mapping an HA system onto that eventual consistency model was the big IP here.
Yeah, and you've also got the additional use case. If I'm using Panzura or Nasuni, that's it's a cloud solution, period. And I see a lot more people at least get it starting with, and we'll flash mirror to the cloud, make the cloud another copy, so that on top of everything else, I never have to back up my 5 million file NetApp again.
Right.
Realize that replication and backup are two different things.
Yeah, but when you start writing to an object store that keeps versions, they get really much closer.
You keep versions?
Say that again. Keep versions. I was watching my slides.
All right.
Not that I'm saying they do it in this version, but to do cloud snapshots.
Right. So we do not do cloud snapshots in this release.
But once they start doing cloud snapshots, then and I never have to back this damn thing up again.
Exactly.
Becomes reasonable for a lot of people who come up with some other solution to deal with the catalog on the backup.
But do you save each individual file in the?
A file becomes multiple objects.
This could be a problem because you can't access that file from any other device.
Okay, so now you need the virtual FXT that runs in EC2.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That lets us translate those objects back into files.
So we don't believe the file system layout is proprietary. We don't really care that that's not our product. Our product is the integration of all these things with the cloud. So any of our customers is going to get a software instance of the product, so they can get it whether our product's there or not. So they'll have the visibility to see it.
So that's available today, or that's something?
The software, it'll be close behind. It's not there right now, but it'll be right behind it.
So that's a VM.
Very close behind. Yeah.
That's a VM I can run in EC2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you will provide an EC2 instance or an AMI?
The AMI product is not provided at this point.
Okay.
But It's definitely something we're considering.
But
remember, right now,
Will it be in the marketplace? It will be a private.
yes.
I say yes.
Exactly.
So will you also provide a VMware virtual machine on the?
Please understand, I definitely want to make it clear what's real and what's roadmap, right? And so that's roadmap right now.
Okay.
The immediate thing is, so we're basically announcing beta start. So the customers are getting boxes, they're getting our software, and they're running it. But we understand that our value is not that proprietary file system. That was only necessary for us to create a file interface on objects. So any of our customers will get that, and that's going to come very fast. And then a productized virtual instance will probably be right after that.
Okay.
I know, I looked to Mom. Okay, so just kind of summary. So, right, I think I probably said this now at least once already. The whole point of this is not that it's a gateway, but the whole point of this is that it's a gateway integrated to the enterprise edge core system that we did. And without a doubt, the number one piece that drives people to that is this move capability. And because now you could just imagine. Remember I gave the example before of an IT guy needed to spin up another 100 terabytes? Well, up until now, he would consider tier 1 storage, or he can go to white box. Now he consider tier 1 storage, white box, or cloud. Two of those approaches requires him going out and ordering stuff, racking it, putting it up in the system. One of them requires a couple of mouse clicks at Amazon. And all of a sudden, there's a 100 terabyte repository, which he stitches into his global namespace.
You trying to eliminate our phony baloney jobs?
No. Why? You need people to talk about which cloud vendor is like.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's got to do the cloud washing.
Exactly. So on top, not only Flash Move, but I think Flash Move is probably the one that everyone is gravitating towards right now, just because of how hard it is to get in and out. But also Flash Mirror. Imagine you can keep a remote, you can keep a copy on your local filer, and also keep a copy out in the cloud with the dual write queues with the Flash Mirror piece. The other thing that we're announcing right now.
It's pretty hard to keep those things in sync to some extent because you've got cloud.
The write queues could differ
Considerably, right?
Yeah,
They're not going to be the same.
So we do that now. We mirror now between local and remote.
Yeah.
It's only. Do you believe that so one of our customers runs a 5,000 node build farm, and his date in one of the sites that he's running builds for is 250 milliseconds away. It's down in Bangalore, and we run really well. Anyway, the other big thing that we're announcing today is our integration with Glacier. And I actually think we took a pretty novel approach to Glacier, which is, remember, we have the global namespace, and you have all these exports, all these things. And imagine now we have one of these exports, which is just a container that's stored in Amazon Cloud. You can actually go in and say, I want to freeze that guy. Today we do it in the GUI, so it's an administrative task, but we're looking at ways to make this go all the way down to the end user. So it's an administrative task. You go in and you say, I want to freeze this export, or I want to freeze this set of directories. What we do is we migrate the data to Glacier, but we leave our file system behind. We leave the metadata. We leave the information about directories and the previews. We leave in S3. Effectively, what we've done is we're freezing all the data, but we're leaving a category behind. And we're presenting it all in NFS and CIFS, so you can continue to bop down through the directories. You get previews, you get everything. It looks just like all the files are there, but when you try to read them, you get a fail. And then what you do, the read is a fail.
Glacier has this
5
SLA
hours.
of 3 to 5 hours.
5 hours. Right. So the point was, the data is not available, but the catalog of it, the directory structure, the previews, all that is. And so now,
Losing the benefit here. What am I not seeing?
Of 1/10 the price? That benefit?
No, about the
Remember,
50 to 1, that one
no,
block of data that is not available?
remember who their customers are. So you rendered Shrek and you sent it to the theaters. And now you freeze
And
that
Shrek
whole
2.
project. And then when it's time to make the special edition Director's Cut Gold 4th CD, 4th DVD, you unfreeze that project. 3 hours later, you can access it again.
Or you want to bring, Shrek had Pinocchio, right? Wasn't, yeah, Pinocchio. Or you want the Pinocchio character, just that character. Because the catalog's behind, you bop through the directory, you find the one set of directories that define that character, and you thaw those, and only those. You don't have to freeze and thaw everything.
Yeah,
That's the point for the catalog.
You ice a whole directory, not the pieces of the
Right.
data.
You ice whatever you want, but you can thaw whatever you want. That's the point. We very much wanted to make sure that the user experience feels like NFS and CIFS. When you freeze it, we fail reads, but all the other parts of traversing the directories work. And then when you thaw it, you could just thaw the pieces you want.
Yeah, so any organization that does projects, or law firms, it's like that matter's done.
Yeah.
Freeze it. There's lots of stuff where you know when you need to access things and don't.
Exactly.
Plus, it could be the second copy on the mirror.
So and then I want to go through some examples, but the important part of this, like the worst thing that would happen, I would have done a terrible job, and Rebecca will reprimand me if the message coming out of here is Avere is another gateway. It's not.
We
It's
got that
you
covered.
got it. It's the gateway function, perfect. So I wanted to show two things, and I know the first one might be easy, the second one might get a little worse. Rebecca warned me that I'm probably going
Wait,
to
it
get
says
shit for both
Gartner.
these. It does.
Ouch. Is that the first?
Is that an exception to the I can't throw things rule?
Is that a first for this Tech Field Day?
Well, Steven's not here, so.
Should I skip this slide, Rebecca?
Steven's not here. We
It
can
was
throw.
going good, but
It was-
what is it again? It's just a gateway, right? Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the most recent data center conference, they interviewed people, what are your roadblocks to the cloud, right? Performance, obviously, number one. Security, number two. But then...
That was before Nirvanics went bust, because number 3 wouldn't have been zero.
number 3 would have been much bigger. So you're right. This is right before Nirvanics went bust. And so if you look at these other things, it's very much around vendor lock-in. And the point that... So remember, this is their enterprise conference. They're talking to like our target customers, big, large enterprises, right? If you look at what this edge core architecture provides, so those 3 problems, the performance, it's all about this ability to scale the performance you see in the front, the ability to add, go fast stuff. Security, we do a very typical encryption or a high-level encryption algorithm, 256 AES. All the keys never make it to the cloud. They're only on our product.
So
and
is
then
it encrypted only in the cloud, or
encrypted only in the cloud.
and it's software encryption?
Yes. Remember, I said this earlier, trying to give a hint over here. Remember I said there's 2 operations in the box? There's one thing that operates at the 50x, and there's one thing that operates at the 1x. This only has to operate at the 1x. So it's all software-based.
And the data in your box is unencrypted.
Unencrypted.
And not to mention that AES is in the microcode on the latest Xeons, too.
Okay, good.
So, we say today's software encryption is the equivalent of a dedicated encryption chip a couple of years ago.
But the main point is it only has to happen at that 2% rate. And so it was very easy for us to get right.
Do you have customers that use Flash Move where the data is a virtual machine disk? Or is that more just for
MBK?
files?
No, absolutely you could use it. Yes, the answer is yes. You could absolutely use it for that.
I'm thinking like data migration to get off an older array. Something
Yes,
like that.
without a doubt. And then, of course, this last one, vendor lock-in, is that move. I think the thing that, it's the combination of these 3 that really has our customers excited. I think it's this last one, this flash move. Imagine you want to get in the cloud, you run a flash move, but now you're upset with your cloud vendor, or maybe you only did that for overflow, and now you want to bring in a private object store.
Or
Once
maybe
you
they
got
send
the
you an
thing,
email that says they're closing in 10 days.
Yeah.
right? Or they send you an email, they're closing in 10 days. Or you want to move it. You finally your data center's online, and you have your private object store. You can actually then bring it back out. So not only is it the ultimate on-ramp, it's the ultimate off-ramp, because you can move things in and out. We basically treat that container in the object store as if it was an export on a filer. And so all of our tools, all the management, everything's the same across the board.
That's where you said that when the silvering process is completed, I can say, all right,
Disconnect.
it's now over here, but the client's transparent to that whole.
Client doesn't see any of that.
Right. Interesting.
And so if you look back at what those issues were, what enterprise issues are, we think this architecture, because it's a gateway, but with all these other features on top of it, that's really what was needed to solve enterprise cloud users.
Did you show the product? Did you show the product to the service providers? What do they think about?
LocalWeb in Brazil is using our product right now. It works really well. The way they describe it is you never know which website's going to be hot on any given day based on what Miley Cyrus wore that day, or what happened in the Middle East. And so what they love about our system is we only cache the hot stuff. So we'll push stuff out based on user load.
No, but on the new product, they have a way to sell their services, their object storage services to the customers.
That's right.
You're thinking about it more as a cloud gateway.
Sorry?
You're thinking about it more as a cloud gateway.
Just a
Not a
migration
cloud
tool.
gateway, but you can.
Oh, a
build-
migration tool, yeah.
Yeah.
They were late for Nubanix.
So for the cloud providers we're talking to, when we present this to them or talk to them about it, the number one feedback we get is, you guys have opened the door to the data center. I couldn't compete with NetApp and Isilon. All of a sudden, you make it so 100 terabyte from them and 100 terabyte from me performs the same, and you have the same tools to get in and out. You've just opened the door. You've leveled the playing field. I can go in now and compete. So the cloud providers think this is a very good way to get into enterprise storage. I wanted to show spec because remember the spec slide I showed you?
10 minutes ago?
Yeah, 10 minutes ago?
we did.
Well,
I might have early onset Alzheimer's, but it's not that bad.
no, okay, good. So this was done a year and a half ago with our 3500. 9 months ago, we came out with a 3800. The 3800 is 30% faster than the 3500. So instead of needing 44 nodes, we only needed 32. I think that's the obvious thing that we did. So 3800, 32 nodes. We actually made sure we're a little bit higher than our 3500 post. But then, because we had already started working on this object store, we wanted to give a hint of where we were going. So watch what we did. We took our spec workload generators, we put them in the same rack as our edge filer. The core filer, we moved to our colo, and we ran it over a 150 millisecond WAN emulator. So effectively, we took that core filer and we put it in Europe. And we still came out with the top number. That was the real big deal that we were trying to show this past year. Was not only could we get
really,
the top...
they just put the latency in there to rub it in.
Right. Right. We saw we needed 30% less nodes, and then we said, let's just kind of teach everyone where we're going with doing things to the cloud. So, well, first, we also did one other minor thing. We could buy 4 terabyte drives at that point. So instead of needing 4 of our boxes, we only needed 3 of them. And then the 3800, we only needed 32 of them.
Now, reading the spec report, you don't see this sort of information. I mean,
is.
it's not
No, this
obvious
is-
that there's 150 millisecond overhead between the
Are you
filer.
sure? I thought that was all this. I'm pretty sure that's all. Spec is, I love the spec guys. They are unbelievably detailed oriented. You have to disclose every single thing that's in there and is running, down to what model disk drives you're using.
Yeah, I got all that.
Yeah.
It's
Ray knows one or two things
150
about
It's 150
benchmarks.
millisecond overhead that you've got in there.
I'll
I'll look. Oh, no problem.
There's probably just no place to put it because when they
It's
designed
pretty
the
straight,
benchmark,
yeah.
nobody thought you would be stupid enough to do that.
Right.
And so it had, it's probably in some introductory or finaling text that you read over quicker because you were looking at in the
I'm just
places
looking at the
you
numbers,
usually
yeah.
look. Right, because you were just looking at the numbers. Yeah, I'm sure it's not in the numbers because
It's not in the
the
numbers.
benchmark's not designed for
It's in
that.
it's in the configs. It's in the details of the config.
No, I got you. I'm sorry.
No, Ray's looking right now.
Yeah.
I can tell from the look on his face.
Tell Bernie to tell him exactly where that is.
Yeah, Bernie would know. Even if he does write like an engineer.
Sorry. Anyway, so conclusion, right? The big thing about this, we now call this cloud NAS, the ability to run enterprise class cloud performance and features, but run it against enterprise class NAS performance, but run it against the cloud backend. So NAS features performance, flexibility to store data locally, remotely in the cloud, and the ability to migrate between those.